with the deck glued to the hard top, and I'm bloody excited about it. I can now sand that margin in between the blue masking tape there and get it back to raw glass, because what I now want to do is actually tab that to the deck itself. I've got to be mindful I don't want to damage the anti-slip, so I've actually masked it off, and that's sort of given me a bit of a room for error. And I'm going to get my drum sander and just polish off that gel coat so that I can put in a good solid tab all the way along there. I'll put in 3 or 4 layers of 600 double bias and peel ply it, and then I'll attempt to fair it back in so that there's only a tiny little line between the anti-slip and the actual glass, and then I'll be able to start to tidy up the top and make it all one piece. This is pretty exciting for me, because it makes the whole thing integrated and starts to look like it actually didn't happen, or it was actually never ever any different than what it is now. This is all part of fiberglassing. If you can do the finishing, that's the key. A builder once said to me, I can build you a nice house, but if you stuff up the painting, my building means nothing. And that's the key with this stuff, is being able to integrate it and finish it off and get it polished so it looks like it was meant to be. And that's my whole method with this whole thing, is all these modifications I'm doing and additions and final stuff that I'm doing now is the end product that I can be proud of, not something that's just bogged together and slapped together like I can't be bothered. So let's get into it. I'm going to sand all the way around. It's going to take me a good hour or two to get that off, and I'll get that back to glass, and then I can start working on the integration. It's the moment of truth. I've glued the roof down. I've got to work out if I can actually get those bolts out. I've undone the nuts on the top side, and it looks as though they're going to unwind. I'm hoping, epoxy generally won't bind to a thread because the thread will often work its way out. So effectively you're going to reverse tap an epoxy plug, but yeah, it looks like they're going to come off, so I'm pretty happy about that. So I'll just unscrew, and then I'll fill the whole vinyl ester for the tab on the roof, and then I'll be able to go back to flow coat on the roof and polish it back so that it all looks like one piece. Got a nice smooth transition here now after all that epoxy filling that I've done to glue the thing, and it's still a little tacky, but at the end of the day it is fully cured. It's 3 days since I did the initial one. I've done 3 loads of backfill, and then ultimately I'm going to give this a good sand and a grind and tab this back with vinyl ester so I can do the internal paint job. But yeah, luckily these bolts are going to undo. I'm pretty happy about that, because I was worried they weren't going to come out at all. One day I'd like to finish what I started, and today's the day. I actually finished doing one complete job without having to extend it onto another day. This is now completely sanded back, and that took a bit of effort. That was about 4 hours of sanding with that barrel sander, my roller sander, and basically that's now grounded back to the point that I can now go in and do a little bit of filler along the line between the hard top and the roof, and then that'll be cotton flock and vinyl ester, and then ultimately I'm going to put several layers of tabbing there and hopefully blend that right back in once I sand it all down. So that's looking pretty good now. It's it almost looks like it belongs there. It looks like someone sort of had a bit of a hack at it, but at least it's going to be nice and white gel coat, and it'll look like it actually is part of the roof, and it is in fact part of the roof now. It is glued and totally glued and seamed. So it's time to join this hard top to the deck up on the top sides. What I've actually done, I've just spent another hour or so increasing the width here, which has actually eaten into a bit of my anti-slip, but I'll tidy that up later. I just found that there was not enough. I need at least 10 centimetres of flange here, 50 mil on each of the parts. Although it is glued and glass behind, I want to have a nice transition here. So the more that I can put here, the more glass I can put here, the better. And I'm actually going to use a cotton flock and vinyl ester filler to bridge the difference between the deck and the hard top. There's quite a gap. It's about 2 or 3 millimeters here. I have sanded it down as much as possible, but I want a nice smooth radius all the way through here so that it looks like it was always one piece. I've actually put this plastic down because I'm going to be doing quite a bit of laminating here, and it does get messy, and I do not want it on my reasonably clean anti-slip. Although it's filthy, it's going to need a good clean at the end, but I don't want any resin setting in that because that's just going to make it hard to get out. But yeah, that's taken a bit of preparation, and I've always mask off wherever I'm going to laminate because I want to make sure that I don't go over any sort of important features, and there is quite a nice hard line right along here. And I don't want to be laminating up over the top of that because that's a feature of the actual hard top. So I'm trying to retain some of that natural line that was already on that, and it'll come in nice. I'm going to put in one tab around about 8 centimeters and another one around about 12 centimeters. I reckon 12 centimeters is going to be about the max I'm going to get. The wider I can get, the better. And then I'll put a layer of CSM on it, and then I'll peel ply it. And what that will do, it'll actually embed it and give me a beautiful smooth finish and minimize fairing. The idea is to have as little fairing as possible up here, but it is going to take a little bit to make this look like one. But yeah, it's actually coming along really nicely. I'm really happy with the way this is interfaced. I've got it dead level and absolutely square, and it's an amazing look when you look at it, to think that that is a separate piece that I've been able to bond onto the actual catamaran deck. That is now joined. It's been a really good couple of days of the outside done today, and that is just absolutely looking perfect. It's going to need a little bit of filler and a little bit of fairing to get it perfectly smooth. And I'll peel off some of the peel ply. The other side's still wet, and just have a look at my result. So this is the advantage of working with vinyl ester. That is 3 hours ago I laid that up, and I can sand it now. The beauty of vinyl ester is you get that same day working time. If that was epoxy, I'd be waiting at least a day, maybe 2, maybe even 3 before I could touch that with the sander. I can hit that and just hand sand that now and get a really good finish straight away and move on to the next stage. There's no slowing up with vinyl ester. The issue is you got the styrene, you got the fumes, and it is a little bit hard to work with if you're not used to it, but I love it. I use a lot of it. Got to try and get the seal of approval. Here comes the boss. Oh.
Did a good job.
Yeah. Is that all? God, nothing worse than feeling really good about yourself and then Jenny goes, you've done a good job, haven't you? Oh, that's the Northern English way, I have to say.
Yeah, well,
I'm pretty used to that. I have to say, every now and then I try to impress myself, and then Jenny goes, you've done a good job, eh?
I think that, isn't that a compliment?
It is a compliment from you, honey. I know.
What do you want? Fantastic, awesome.
I want fantastic, awesome, incredible, the best she's ever seen. But that's the first time she's ever seen it, so anyway. Yep, looking good.
Looks really good.
It's amazing, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yep. It's incredible. It's astonishing. Let's sign off on that.
I've missed a bit of the polishing.
In this job, preparation is absolutely everything, and often the cleanup is 10 times worse than the prep itself. So what I'll do is I'll start on a small job and think, oh, I'll get on and do that, and then I'll look around and think, how much more prep can I do to reduce the amount of cleanup I do? Now, in this case, I actually started sanding and grinding the gel coat where I was going to join the cockpit roof to the outside of the cabin, and then discovered that I needed to do a few little things inside, which then led to around about 3 or 4 hours of grinding and sanding. And I got the flap disc out to do the saloon roof, which actually started a whole new project in itself, and the resultant cleanup can just be mind-boggling. It'll take me 2 or 3 goes with a vacuum cleaner, and then I'll leave it overnight to come back in before it's safe to work in this environment. I really despise the dust, and I do everything I can to minimise it at all costs, and my vacuum runs pretty much continuously all day, every day.
If you want a very ordinary job, sand the roof of your saloon for 3 hours. Man, that was a stinker of a job. Killed my back, killed my neck, killed my arms, killed my wrists, everything. But that's now done. I haven't actually given it a good go on the orbital. I've decided I'm going to clean up because there's probably about 20 kilos of dust laying on the floor here. I mean, check it out. It is just thick. And luckily it sort of all falls pretty quickly to the ground. But yeah, look at the pile there. There's piles everywhere. So I've taken quite a considerable amount of rubbish off this laminate. And that, remembering that was all peel plied too, so that was already smooth. So imagine what you get if you don't use peel ply. You'd be sanding off tons of it and not getting as good a finish. But yeah, that's pretty good. I'm going to vacuum it out in a minute. I'm just going to let it sit for 10 minutes before I start getting the vacuum in there and try and collect as much of it as possible. Tomorrow I'm going to come in, do some quiet jobs for a change. It's Easter Monday. I've been here all weekend. I'm going to tab this entire roof together here and possibly up along the join along the top here as well, but we'll see how we go with that. I'm not really sure whether I'll get that done tomorrow, but the sooner I get these major construction sections done, the sooner I can start working on the sugar scoops. And I'm waiting for a weather window, just like you would if you were sailing. I'm waiting on a weather window because my sugar scoops are partially outside. So I'm really going to have to make sure that I do these on a good day where there's a bit of warmth. I'm going to spray the gel coat in the morning, and then by lunchtime I'll be putting 2 or 3 layers down just to get it started. Probably have to peel ply in between, and hopefully it'll set before the night air, because we're in the middle of sort of towards the end of autumn now, and we're starting to get some cooler nights, and we're getting some condensation. So I'll be tarping it up, but we still get condensation dropping on it. So it'll be vinyl ester because the whole hull is vinyl ester, and I figured I'll continue the vinyl ester on the hull, and that way I'm sort of a little bit better protected from any osmosis attack. Vinyl ester is like epoxy; it doesn't actually suffer from osmosis, and but that's going to be pretty simple.
After an extensive cleanup, which took the better part of the rest of the day, I was able to tackle the final internal laminate bonding on the next day of the cockpit roof to the deck, thereby completing the join. The final finish was peel plied and smooth as it could possibly be, and a final sand of the entire saloon will be the last job, which will then allow me to decide on the roof finish, which will likely include some areas of lining and other areas of painting, just to add effect.
Feeling pretty good. I got that completely seamed today. It took me nearly all day. I had a couple of visitors, and there was a lot going on, but yeah, that's nice and smooth, and it looks like it never happened. It looks like it's all been one piece all along. It's been a good day's work really to get that totally seamed, and you can see here I've started to sand this, and this is already integrated, and you would not know that wasn't the one piece. And up here still setting, I think. It's gone off, but yeah, I'm not going to peel that off until tomorrow, and then I can sand the whole thing, and then I'm pretty much ready to start to think about fairing this area here, and start to get some leveling fairing on this surface here. I spent all of Easter tidying this up. Probably going to have a little bit of a texture on here, I'd say. Not really sure how we're going to finish that, but that may be up to the interior designer, not me. It's come to the time where Jad and I are going to nick off. It's a year since we had a holiday, and last year's holiday that was actually this year's holiday that we're having now, or we're about to have, didn't happen because of COVID. And this year it's just been floods after floods after floods. And guess what? Today it's supposed to flood again. And we're leaving our house to Jeff, who works with me often, and Dagmar for a little while. They're going to look after Lexi and take care of everything here. What do you reckon, Jan?
I'm excited. I'm looking forward to it.
What's the plan? What's the plan?
So we're going to go and have the sailing trip for Ellen's 21st. We were supposed to have 12 months ago, and it was supposed to be for my birthday as well. Anyway, we managed to get a small holiday for my birthday, but this one is for Ellen's 21st and for our 30th wedding anniversary, provided we make it.
That's 2 life sentences for Janet. So we're all loaded up. We've got sea kayaks. We've got the guitar, so I can play the tune, because I haven't played the guitar for over a year. Yeah, it could be a bit sketchy. We've got a camper trailer. Yeah, it's going to piss down rain apparently, and we're going to have 300 mils of rain today, and another 200 tomorrow, and another 200 on Monday. So
guess what? We're staying in a motel.
Yeah, we're moteling it. So the camper trailer's coming. We're off to far north Queensland, and hopefully inland into the outback a little bit. Got the bikes on the back, got it all. I've just set up a full 12-volt battery system in here, ready to go. So we're fully self-contained if we ever get out of the wet. The old wet season Well, the dry season in the north is actually a wet season this year, so that's not good. So we're gone. See you later. 4 a.m. We're going ballooning. It's our 30th anniversary. Hey, honey. That's going to be a hoot. Doesn't matter if there's people next door. We're going ballooning in Byron Bay while the rest of the world falls apart in Jervis Bay. We're going ballooning on it's a beautiful morning, absolutely awesome day. So it's 4 a.m, we're up and we're going. This is our second. There we go, we're ready to go. All right, we're doing it.
Oh, it's very exciting. I'm really looking forward to it.
Very exciting.
Now, although I'd love to lay claim for taking Janet on the ballooning adventure of a lifetime for our 30th wedding anniversary, I can't because Sam, our son, purchased this for Janet and I 18 months ago for Janet's birthday. So good on you, Sam. Thanks, mate. It was an amazing experience. One thing that really stood out to me was I thought it would be a very peaceful experience, and the sound of the actual flame is quite intense, and it does actually break the silence quite a lot of the time that you're in the air. And the other thing that I couldn't get over was the fact that I thought we'd be flying at all times at around 2,000 feet as we are here, but in fact the balloon pilot was able to move us up and down through the stratas of wind that were in effect that morning, and because it was the thermals that are raising off the ground, and the wind has a massive effect on the balloon's movement, and there's no sensation of movement. In fact, a lot of the time we were actually scraping through the top of the treetops, and his skill was apparent. And I did actually ask him how he learnt to fly this, and he said there's only about 4 schools in Australia, and it was really nice to know that we're an Australian-made balloon and basket. That was really pleasing to see that there is a small industry around this event, and we had such a great morning.
Like, my face.
Oh, we had a nice smooth landing, and they're going to drive the balloon up to this knoll because it's a bit muddy here. It's a bit saturated, this ground. We're going to end up walking in cow shit. We've been told to get out because I've got a bit of extra weight apparently. Oh, and this guy. We actually, we were kicked off, weren't we, mate?
We're off to the pub.
We're off to the pub. The girls are going, we've got life insurance renewed and they're off. I'm coming back, I've just got to film it.
Oh, Steve. Oh.